The kitchen was filled with the sweet aroma of vanilla and freshly baked bread. Lisa, a small girl with curly hair and bright eyes, stood on a stool beside her mother, eagerly watching her mix ingredients in a large bowl. Her mother, Sarah, a gentlewoman with a warm smile, handed her a spoonful of batter to taste. Lisa's eyes lit up with delight. "Mom, I want to be a pastry chef when I grow up," Lisa declared, licking the spoon clean. Sarah chuckled softly. "That's a wonderful dream, darling." Lisa spent hours in the kitchen with her mother, learning the delicate art of baking. The kitchen was their sanctuary, a place where the troubles of the world seemed to melt away. It was a world of sugar and flour, where dreams were kneaded and baked into reality. However, outside the warm confines of their kitchen, reality was much harsher. Lisa's father, John, sat in the living room, a bottle of whiskey in his hand. John was a tall, strong man, but his eyes were clouded with despair. He had struggled for years to find steady work, a struggle made even more difficult by the color of his skin. In those days, opportunities were scarce for a black man, and the weight of his failures had driven him to seek solace in alcohol. Sarah glanced at John from the kitchen, her face etched with worry. She knew the burden of supporting the family had fallen entirely on her shoulders. Despite her frail health, she worked long hours as a seamstress, her fingers nimble but tired, stitching fabric late into the night to make ends meet. "Lisa, sweetie, could you help me with the dough?" Sarah asked, trying to keep her voice cheerful, despite the heaviness in her heart. Lisa nodded eagerly, her small hands covered in flour as she kneaded the dough with determination. She looked up at her mother, noticing the dark circles under her eyes, the way her shoulders slumped with exhaustion. Even at a young age, Lisa understood that her mother was carrying a heavy load. "Mom, why does Dad drink so much?" Lisa asked innocently, her voice barely above a whisper. Sarah's hands paused for a moment, the question hanging in the air. She sighed and continued kneading, choosing her words carefully. "Sometimes, when people feel lost and unable to find their way, they turn to things that make them forget their pain. Your father, he's struggling, but he loves us very much." Lisa nodded, not fully understanding, but sensing the gravity of the situation. She glanced towards the living room, where John was now slumped over, the bottle empty beside him. The sight made her stomach twist with a mix of fear and sadness. As the days turned into months, John's drinking worsened. He became more withdrawn, his presence a ghostly shadow in their home. The financial strain grew heavier, and Sarah's health deteriorated further. She often worked through bouts of dizziness and fatigue, her body pushed to its limits. One evening, as Sarah was sewing a particularly intricate dress, her hands trembled. Lisa sat nearby, practicing her piping skills on a batch of cupcakes. The radio played softly in the background, a faint attempt to bring some normalcy to their evenings. "Lisa, could you bring me a glass of water?" Sarah asked, her voice weak. Lisa jumped up immediately, worry flashing across her face. She fetched the water and handed it to her mother, noticing how pale and frail she looked. Sarah took a sip, her hand shaking. "Mom, are you okay?" Lisa asked, her voice quivering. Sarah forced a smile. "I'm just a little tired, sweetie. Don't worry about me." But Lisa did worry. She worried every time her mother coughed or stumbled, every time her father came home drunk and angry. The once happy and bustling home had become a place of quiet despair. One night, as Lisa lay in bed, she heard her parents arguing in the next room. John's voice was slurred and angry, while Sarah's was soft and pleading. Lisa hugged her pillow tightly, tears streaming down her face. She wished more than anything that she could help, that she could take away their pain. Life grew increasingly difficult as Lisa grew older. Her father's addiction took its toll, and his health deteriorated rapidly. One bleak morning, Lisa found him unconscious on the couch, the empty bottle surrounding him a grim testament to his suffering. By the time the paramedics arrived, it was too late. His organs, ravaged by years of alcohol abuse, had given out. The loss of John only deepened the hardship. Sarah, frail and overworked, struggled to keep the family afloat. She no longer supported Lisa's dreams of becoming a pastry chef. Instead, she urged her daughter to pursue a stable career. "Lisa, you need to think practically," Sarah said one evening, her voice strained with fatigue. "Baking won't pay the bills. You need a profession that guarantees a steady income." "But Mom, baking is my passion. I don't want to be stuck in an office, Lisa protested, her frustration bubbling over. Sarah sighed, her shoulders slumping. Passion doesn't put food on the table, Lisa. You need to be realistic. Their arguments became a regular occurrence, each one leaving Lisa feeling more trapped. She loved her mother and understood the pressure Sarah was under, but giving up her dream felt like a betrayal to herself. Eventually, Sarah's health worsened, and the arguments took a toll on her weak heart. Lisa, fearing for her mother's well-being, reluctantly agreed to study accounting. Enrolling in accounting school felt like walking into a cage. Lisa moved through the motions of her new life, attending classes and completing assignments. But her heart wasn't in it. She continued to help her mother with baking to make ends meet, their once joyful kitchen now a place of necessity rather than passion. One day, during an introductory accounting class, a charismatic voice broke through Lisa's fog of disinterest. "Hey, I'm Jake," the young man said, extending a hand. His smile was genuine, his eyes bright with enthusiasm. "Lisa," she replied, shaking his hand and managing a small smile. Jake's love for accounting was evident in every word he spoke. He found joy in the numbers, in the logic and precision of it all. Lisa couldn't understand his passion, but she found his optimism refreshing. Over time, they began to spend more time together, Jake's energy and excitement a stark contrast to Lisa's disillusionment. "Why did you choose accounting?" Jake asked one afternoon as they sat in the campus coffee shop. Lisa hesitated, stirring her drink. "I didn't really choose it. My mom wants me to have a stable job." Jake nodded, sensing her reluctance. "What would you do if it were up to you?" "I'd be a pastry chef," Lisa admitted, her eyes lighting up momentarily. "I've always loved baking." Jake grinned. "You should follow your passion. Life's too short to spend it doing something you don't love." Lisa looked at him, feeling a flicker of hope. "It's not that simple. My mom's health isn't great and we need the stability." Jake reached across the table, placing a hand on hers. "You'll find a way, Lisa. Just don't give up on your dreams completely." Their conversations grew deeper, and Lisa found herself looking forward to seeing Jake each day. His unwavering belief in following one's passion inspired her, and for the first time in a long while, she felt a glimmer of hope. As their friendship blossomed, so did their romance. Jake's optimism was contagious, and Lisa began to envision a future where her dreams could coexist with her responsibilities. They spent evenings discussing their aspirations, Jake's plans to pursue further studies, and Lisa's secret hope to one day open her own bakery. One evening as they walked through the campus park, Jake stopped and turned to Lisa. "I know things are tough now, but I believe in you. You have a talent and a passion that's rare. Don't let it go to waste." Lisa smiled, feeling warmth spread through her chest. "Thank you, Jake. Your support means a lot." Jake squeezed her hand, his eyes sincere. "We'll get through this together, Lisa. I promise." Their relationship continued to grow, providing Lisa with a much-needed respite from her daily struggles. Jake's presence was a beacon of light in her otherwise gray world, reminding her that dreams were worth fighting for. But life at home remained difficult. Sarah's health continued to decline, her once strong spirit now frail and tired. Despite their differences, Lisa remained devoted to her mother, balancing her schoolwork with baking to support them both. The arguments about Lisa's future had ceased, replaced by a quiet, resigned acceptance. Sarah watched her daughter with a mix of pride and sorrow, knowing that Lisa was sacrificing her dreams for the sake of practicality. "I just want you to be happy, Lisa," she said one night, her voice barely above a whisper. Lisa hugged her mother, tears stinging her eyes. "I know, Mum. I'm trying." Sarah's health took a turn for the worse, and one evening she passed away quietly in her sleep. Despite her grief, Lisa pushed forward with her studies, driven by the promise she made to her mother. She hated every moment of it, the monotony of numbers and ledgers draining her spirit. But she endured, determined to honor her mother's final wish. Lisa stood in front of the mirror, adjusting the lace on her wedding dress. Her heart pounded with a mix of excitement and nervousness. Today was the day she would marry Jake, the man who had brought a spark of hope into her otherwise bleak life. "You look beautiful, Lisa," Jake said, stepping into the room. His eyes were filled with love and admiration. "Thank you," Lisa whispered, her voice trembling slightly. She took a deep breath, reminding herself of the promises they had made to each other, of the dreams they shared. The wedding was small, but filled with warmth. Friends and family gathered in the modest church, their smiles and well wishes creating a sense of optimism. As Lisa walked down the aisle, she felt a surge of hope. She glanced at Jake, standing at the altar, and saw the same hope mirrored in his eyes. Their first days as husband and wife were filled with joy and shared dreams. They talked late into the night about their future, about the bakery Lisa still longed to open, and the stable job Jake was determined to find. They were a team, facing the world together with love and determination. However, after graduation, Jake struggled to find a steady job. Each promising lead seemed to slip through his fingers, leaving him frustrated and anxious. He started spending more time at the local bar, where the lure of gambling provided a temporary escape from his worries. "Jake, we need to talk," Lisa said one evening, her voice tense with worry. "You've been spending a lot of time at the bar. We can't afford to lose money on gambling." "I know, Lisa," Jake replied, his eyes avoiding hers. "I just needed a break. I'm trying, but it's hard." Lisa sighed, feeling the weight of their situation pressing down on her. "I'm already working extra hours to keep us afloat." Jake nodded, but the pattern continued. The nights grew longer, and Lisa often found herself alone, waiting for Jake to come home. She took on the financial burden, working tirelessly as an accountant, a job she despised. The numbers blurred together, and the office walls felt like a prison. Her only solace was the thought of baking, but even that dream seemed to fade under the relentless pressure. One night, as Lisa sat at the kitchen table going over their bills, Jake stumbled in, his eyes bloodshot. He dropped into a chair, burying his face in his hands. "Jake, this has to stop," Lisa said, her voice strained. "We're sinking, and I can't do this alone." "I'm sorry, Lisa," Jake mumbled, his voice muffled. "I thought I could win enough to help us out, but I lost everything." Lisa's heart sank. The weight of their situation was crushing her. Days turned into weeks, and the strain took its toll on Lisa's mental health. She felt trapped in a never-ending cycle of work and worry. Lisa's nights were restless. She lay awake, staring at the ceiling, wishing she could disappear. The future seemed bleak, a dark tunnel with no end in sight. Her passion for baking was buried under a mountain of responsibilities and unmet expectations. "Why does it have to be this way?" Lisa whispered to herself one night, tears streaming down her face. "Why can't we just catch a break?" Jake, lying beside her, was oblivious to her anguish, lost in his own world of regret and guilt. The distance between them grew, each burdened by their own struggles. One evening, after another exhausting day at work, Lisa found herself sitting on the floor of their small apartment, surrounded by bills and bank statements. The walls seemed to close in on her, and she felt a wave of despair wash over her. "I can't do this anymore," she muttered, her voice barely audible. "I can't keep living like this." The thought of ending her pain crossed her mind, a fleeting yet terrifying notion. Lisa sat on the edge of the bathtub, the white plastic stick trembling in her hands. The thought of ending her pain had crossed her mind more often than she wanted to admit. The weight of her responsibilities and the bleakness of her future felt unbearable. Every day she trudged through the monotony of accounting, her dreams of baking buried deep under layers of stress and disappointment. One morning, Lisa woke up feeling unusually nauseous. She rushed to the bathroom, retching over the toilet. The sickness persisted throughout the day, and Lisa couldn't shake a gnawing suspicion. She decided to buy a pregnancy test on her way home from work. Later that evening, she sat on the edge of the bathtub, the white plastic stick trembling in her hands. She took a deep breath and looked at the result. 2 pink lines. Lisa stared at the test in disbelief, her heart pounding. "Jake," she called out softly, her voice barely above a whisper. Jake entered the bathroom, his expression tired and distant. "What's up, Lisa?" She handed him the test, her eyes searching his face for a reaction. As he took it, his eyes widened and a slow smile spread across his face. "Are you?" he began, his voice trailing off in disbelief. Lisa nodded, tears welling up in her eyes. "Yes, Jake, we're going to have a baby." For a moment, the weight of their struggles lifted, replaced by a shared joy that felt almost foreign. Jake pulled Lisa into his arms, holding her tightly. "This changes everything," he murmured into her hair. "We have to make this work. For our baby." Jake's determination seemed to reignite overnight. He scoured job listings, attended interviews, and followed up on every lead with a newfound sense of urgency. Lisa watched him with cautious optimism, her own spirits buoyed by the life growing inside her. As the months passed, the excitement of impending parenthood began to overshadow their worries. They prepared a small corner of their apartment for the baby, filling it with second-hand furniture and hand-me-down clothes. Then came the day their daughter Mia was born. Lisa held the tiny bundle in her arms, marveling at the perfection of her little fingers and toes. Jake stood beside her, his eyes brimming with tears as he gently stroked Mia's soft cheek. "She's beautiful," Jake whispered, his voice choked with emotion. "She is," Lisa agreed, her heart swelling with love and protectiveness. For a time, the happiness Mia brought into their lives seemed to overshadow everything else. Her innocent laughter filled their small apartment, and her presence brought a sense of purpose and hope they had almost forgotten. But the reality of their situation soon began to creep back in. Despite Jake's best efforts, stable employment remained elusive. He took on odd jobs and temporary gigs, but nothing that provided the security they desperately needed. The financial strain slowly returned, casting a shadow over their newfound happiness. Lisa found herself back at the office, the monotony of numbers and ledgers more draining than ever. Each day felt like an endless loop of drudgery, but the thought of Mia waiting for her at home kept her going. Baking, once her greatest joy, had become a rare escape, a way to relieve stress and remember her true passion. One evening, as Lisa mixed ingredients in a bowl, Mia sat in her high chair, babbling happily. Jake entered the kitchen, looking defeated after another long day of job hunting. "Any luck today?" Lisa asked, trying to keep her tone hopeful. Jake shook his head, sinking into a chair. "Nothing yet? I'm starting to wonder if I'll ever find something stable." "We'll figure it out," Lisa said, though the words felt hollow even to her. She turned back to her mixing, the rhythmic motion a small comfort. Jake watched her for a moment, then said, "You know, you're amazing at that. Maybe there's a way we can make it work." Lisa looked up, curiosity piqued. "What do you mean?" "Baking," Jake said, a spark of hope in his eyes. "It's what you love. Maybe there's a way to turn it into something more than just a hobby." Lisa smiled, a small but genuine smile. "I've thought about it, but it's risky. We need something steady." "I know," Jake replied, "but maybe it's time to take a chance. For Mia. For us." The idea lingered in Lisa's mind as the days turned into weeks. She continued to bake in her spare time, experimenting with recipes and dreaming of possibilities. The road ahead was uncertain, but the glimmer of hope remained. As they sat together one evening, Mia asleep, Jake took Lisa's hand. "We can do this, Lisa. We'll find a way." Lisa nodded, feeling the warmth of his hand in hers. Together she agreed, her heart daring to believe that maybe, just maybe, they could turn their dreams into reality. Lisa and Jake had been clinging to hope, working together to build a better future. But one fateful night shattered their fragile dreams. Jake had gone out for groceries, promising to be back soon. Hours passed and Lisa grew increasingly worried. Her phone rang, the caller ID showing an unknown number. "Hello," Lisa answered, her voice trembling. "Is this Lisa?" An unfamiliar voice asked. "I'm calling from the hospital. There's been an accident. You need to come immediately." Lisa's world crumbled. She rushed to the hospital, her heart pounding with fear. When she arrived, a doctor met her in the waiting room. "I'm sorry," he said, his eyes filled with sympathy. "Jake didn't make it. He was hit by a car on his way home. There was nothing we could do." The words echoed in Lisa's mind, an unbearable weight pressing down on her chest. She felt numb, unable to process the reality of Jake's death. The days that followed were a blur of grief and confusion. Lisa struggled to navigate life without Jake, each day a battle against despair. The financial situation, already precarious, quickly spiraled out of control. Creditors began calling, their demands for repayment relentless and merciless. "Mrs. Williams, you need to make a payment immediately," one creditor insisted over the phone. "I don't have the money right now," Lisa replied, her voice breaking. "Please, I just lost my husband. I need more time. I'm sorry for your loss, but we can't grant any extensions. You have 1 week to make the payment, or we'll have to take legal action." The threats became a constant nightmare. The bank moved swiftly, foreclosing on their home. Lisa watched helplessly as men in suits came to take away the house her parents had left her. The sense of loss was overwhelming, but she had no choice but to pack up and leave with Mia. They ended up on the streets, everything they owned reduced to a few bags. Lisa felt the harsh sting of reality as they wandered the city, looking for a place to stay. The stares from strangers were cold and judgmental, as if their situation was a choice rather than a tragedy. One afternoon, as Lisa sat on a park bench, cradling Mia in her arms, a passerby sneered at her. "Get a job, you lazy bum," he spat. "Stop using that kid to beg for money." Lisa's face flushed with shame and anger. "I'm not begging," she said quietly, her voice shaking. "I lost my husband and we have nowhere else to go." "Yeah, right," the man scoffed. "I bet you're just another junkie looking for a handout." The accusation stung, cutting deep into Lisa's already wounded heart. She held Mia closer, fighting back tears. It wasn't just the man in the park. Everywhere they went, they encountered the same hostility and prejudice. Being a black woman on the streets made them targets of scorn and suspicion. People assumed the worst, quick to judge without understanding their plight. One evening, as they huddled in an alleyway, Mia began to cry. Lisa rocked her gently, singing a lullaby her mother used to sing to her. "Hush, little baby, don't say a word. Mama's gonna buy you a mockingbird." Mia's cries softened, her tiny fingers gripping Lisa's shirt. Lisa's voice wavered, but she kept singing, the familiar melody a thread of comfort in their darkness. In the midst of their hardship, Lisa encountered moments of unexpected kindness. An elderly woman, noticing their plight, handed Lisa a warm blanket and a small bag of food. "Thank you," Lisa said, her voice filled with gratitude. The woman smiled kindly. "Stay strong, dear. Better days will come." Despite the small acts of kindness, the days were long and filled with challenges. Lisa searched tirelessly for work, but finding a job while homeless was an uphill battle. Most employers turned her away, suspicious of her appearance and circumstances. One particularly harsh day, as Lisa stood in line at a soup kitchen, a man behind her muttered loudly, "These people just need to pull themselves up by their bootstraps. It's their own fault they're homeless." Lisa turned to face him, her eyes blazing with anger and pain. "You have no idea what we've been through. My husband died and we're doing everything we can to survive. We didn't choose this." The man looked taken aback, mumbling an apology. But the damage was done. Lisa's heart ached with the weight of their situation, but she knew she couldn't afford to give up. Mia needed her, and she would fight with every ounce of strength she had left. As night fell, Lisa found a quiet corner in a park for them to sleep. She laid Mia down, gently wrapping the blanket around her. "Mama, are we going to be okay?" Mia asked, her innocent eyes wide with worry. Lisa forced a smile, her heart breaking. "Yes, sweetie, we will be okay. Mama will make sure of it." She lay beside Mia, holding her close. Lisa woke up to another day of uncertainty. She and Mia had spent the night in a park, huddled together under the thin blanket. Lisa's mind was clouded with worry, as she wondered how they would make it through another day. "Come on, sweetie. Let's go for a walk," Lisa said, trying to keep her voice upbeat for Mia's sake. As they strolled through the park, Mia's eyes lit up at the sight of a playground. Lisa watched her daughter run towards the swings, her heart aching with both love and sorrow. Suddenly, out of the corner of her eyes, she noticed a stroller rolling down a hill towards a busy street. Without thinking, Lisa sprinted towards the stroller. She reached it just in time, grabbing the handle and pulling it to safety. Her heart pounded as she looked inside and saw a baby boy, wide-eyed but unharmed. "Oh my God, thank you!" a man's voice exclaimed behind her. Lisa turned to see a tall, well-dressed man rushing towards them. "I don't know what I would have done if something had happened to him." "It's okay," Lisa said, trying to catch her breath. "I'm just glad I was here." The man picked up the baby and hugged him tightly. "I'm Mark," he said, looking at Lisa with genuine gratitude. "Thank you so much. What's your name?" "I'm Lisa," she replied, feeling a bit overwhelmed by the intensity of the moment. "And this is my daughter, Mia." Mark's eyes softened as he looked at Mia, who was now standing quietly by Lisa's side. "You saved my son's life. I can't thank you enough." "It's really nothing," Lisa said, brushing off the praise. "I just did what anyone would do." "No, it's not nothing," Mark insisted. "Please let me do something to repay you." Lisa hesitated, unsure of what to say. She was used to people looking down on her, not offering help. We're just trying to get by, she admitted. Things have been really tough. Mark's expression changed to one of concern. Tell me what happened. Lisa took a deep breath and told him about Jake's death, losing their home, and their struggle to survive on the streets. Mark listened intently, his face reflecting a mix of sympathy and determination. I inherited an old restaurant from my father, Mark said after Lisa finished her story. It's been closed for years, but it's in decent shape. You can use it. It's yours. Lisa stared at him stunned. I couldn't possibly accept that. It's too much. It's not too much, Mark insisted. The place isn't worth much to me. I'm moving abroad soon and need someone to look after it. You'd be doing me a favor. Lisa looked at Mia, who was watching them with wide eyes. She thought about the endless nights they'd spent with no roof over their heads. This could be their chance to start over. Are you sure? Lisa asked, still hesitant. Absolutely, Mark said, handing her a set of keys. Consider it a thank you for saving my son. Tears welled up in Lisa's eyes as she took the keys. Thank you, Mark. I don't know what to say. Just take care of the place, Mark replied with a smile. And yourself. With the keys clutched tightly in her hand, Lisa led Mia to the old restaurant. The building was run down with peeling paint and dusty windows, but Lisa saw potential. She saw a future. The old restaurant was a blank canvas, and Lisa was determined to paint a future for herself and Mia on it. With the keys to their new beginning clutched in her hand, she and Mia stepped into the dusty, abandoned space. Mama, it's so big. Mia's eyes were wide with wonder as she looked around. It is, isn't it? Lisa smiled, her heart swelling with hope. We're going to turn this place into something special. The first few weeks were a whirlwind of activity. Lisa used what little savings she had left to buy cleaning supplies and basic materials. She scrubbed floors, painted walls, and repaired broken furniture. Mia, though only 3 years old, was eager to help. She followed Lisa around with a small broom, her tiny hands trying their best to mimic her mother's movements. Mama, I sweep too, Mia declared, her face serious as she pushed the broom around. Lisa chuckled, ruffling Mia's curly hair. You're doing a great job, sweetheart. Just be careful. Okay. But Mia's enthusiasm often led to small mishaps. One afternoon, while trying to help, she accidentally knocked over a bucket of soapy water. The contents splashed across the freshly cleaned floor, creating a sudsy mess. Oh no, Mama, I'm sorry. Mia's eyes filled with tears, her lower lip trembling. It's okay, Mia, Lisa reassured her, kneeling down to hug her. Accidents happen. Let's clean it up together. They turned the cleanup into a game, laughing as they slid around the soapy floor. For Lisa, these moments were a reminder of why she was working so hard. Every effort, every setback was for Mia and their future. As the restaurant slowly took shape, Lisa started baking again. The familiar motions of mixing, kneading, and decorating brought her a sense of peace. She tested old family recipes, filling the air with the sweet scent of freshly baked goods. Mia sat at the counter, her chubby fingers occasionally sneaking a taste of the batter. Yummy, Mama, Mia exclaimed, her face smeared with flour. Lisa laughed, feeling a warmth spread through her. I'm glad you like it, Mia. These are going to be our special cookies. When the restaurant finally opened its doors, it was a modest affair. Lisa didn't have the money for a grand opening, but word of mouth began to spread. Curious neighbors and passers-by stopped in to see the transformation and to try her pastries. One of the first customers was Mrs. Thompson, an elderly woman who lived down the street. She took a bite of Lisa's lemon tart, and her eyes widened with delight. This is wonderful, dear, just like my mother used to make. Thank you, Mrs. Thompson, Lisa replied, her heart swelling with pride. I'm so glad you like it. As more people discovered the bakery, the positive feedback began to trickle in. A young couple praised her cinnamon rolls, a group of teenagers raved about her chocolate chip cookies, and a local artist asked if he could display his work in the cafe. With each compliment and satisfied customer, Lisa's confidence grew. She started experimenting with new recipes, adding unique twists to traditional pastries. The cafe began to attract a steady stream of customers, and Lisa could see the potential for success. But the journey was not without its challenges. The long hours took a toll on Lisa, both physically and emotionally. She juggled baking, managing the cafe, and taking care of Mia. There were days when exhaustion threatened to overwhelm her, but the sight of Mia's smiling face kept her going. One evening, as Lisa sat at the kitchen table reviewing the day's sales, Mia climbed onto her lap, snuggling close. "Mama, are we famous now?" Lisa smiled, pressing a kiss to Mia's forehead. "Not yet, sweetie, but we're getting there." "Mama, I want to help more," Mia said earnestly. "I want to make cookies like you." "You already help a lot, Mia," Lisa replied, touched by her daughter's determination. "And when you're a little older, I'll teach you all my secrets." The cafe's popularity continued to grow, slowly but steadily. Regular customers became familiar faces, and Lisa developed a sense of community. She made a point to remember names and favorite orders, creating a welcoming atmosphere that kept people coming back. As the weeks turned into months, the hard work began to pay off. The cafe's revenue increased, allowing Lisa to invest in better equipment and more ingredients. One afternoon, as Lisa prepared a batch of apple turnovers, she looked over at Mia, who was carefully arranging toy pastries on her little playset. "Mia, do you know how proud I am of you?" Mia looked up, her eyes shining. "Why, Mama?" "Because you're my biggest helper," Lisa said, her voice filled with love. "And because you believe in our dream, just like I do." The restaurant had grown beyond Lisa's wildest dreams. The cafe was always bustling, filled with the laughter and chatter of happy customers enjoying Lisa's pastries. One afternoon, as Lisa was carefully decorating a cake, a distinguished-looking man walked in. He glanced around appreciatively before approaching the counter. "Good afternoon," he said, his voice smooth. "I've heard remarkable things about this place. I'd like to try one of your signature pastries." Lisa smiled warmly, unaware of the man's identity. "Of course. How about our lemon tart? It's a customer favorite." The man nodded, taking a seat by the window. Lisa served him personally, placing the tart in front of him with a gentle smile. He took a bite, and Lisa watched as his eyes widened in surprise and delight. "This is exceptional," he said after savoring another bite. "You have a real gift." "Thank you," Lisa replied, her heart swelling with pride. "I'm glad you like it." The man left after finishing his tart, leaving behind a generous tip and a business card. It wasn't until later that Lisa realized he was a well-known food critic. She felt a mix of excitement and nerves, wondering what his review would say. A few weeks later, the review was published. The critic's words were glowing, praising Lisa's talent and the warm, welcoming atmosphere of her cafe. The highlight of the review was the lemon tart, which he described as a masterpiece of balance and flavor. Business boomed even more, and the cafe became a popular spot for food enthusiasts. The pinnacle of Lisa's success came when she received an unexpected letter. She opened it with trembling hands and gasped. Her cafe had been awarded a Michelin star. Tears of joy streamed down her face as she hugged Mia tightly. "We did it, Mia," Lisa whispered, her voice choked with emotion. "We really did it." News of the Michelin star spread quickly, and the cafe was busier than ever. One sunny afternoon, as Lisa was serving customers, she noticed a familiar face standing at the entrance. Mark was back, and he looked around the bustling cafe in amazement. "Mark," Lisa exclaimed, rushing over to him. She hugged him tightly, tears of gratitude in her eyes. "I can't believe you're here. Thank you so much for everything. You changed our lives." Mark returned the hug, smiling warmly. "I'm so glad to see you, Lisa. I had to come and see for myself. This place is incredible." Lisa pulled back, wiping her tears. "It's all thanks to you. You gave us a chance when we had nothing. I'm just glad it worked out," Mark said, his eyes shining. "And I've brought someone who's been eager to see you again." He stepped aside to reveal his son, who was now a lively 5-year-old. Lisa knelt down to his level, her heart swelling with affection. "My, you've grown so much," Lisa said, ruffling his hair. "Do you remember me?" The boy nodded, smiling shyly. "You saved me." "And I'm so glad I did," Lisa replied, her voice soft. "Mama, who's that?" Mia asked, peeking out from behind Lisa. "This is Mark's son," Lisa explained. "I saved him a few years ago. And this, Mark, is my daughter, Mia." "Mia, the last time I saw you, you were just learning to walk," Mark said, smiling at her. "It's so nice to see you again." Mia and Mark's son quickly became inseparable, playing together while Lisa and Mark caught up. They shared stories of their struggles and triumphs, their bond deepening with each conversation. Mark's return to the city marked a new chapter for Lisa and Mia. As he settled back into life in the familiar surroundings, he found himself drawn more and more to Lisa's cafe. He and his son became regular visitors, their presence bringing a warmth and vibrancy to the place. One particularly busy afternoon, the cafe was bustling with customers. Lisa was juggling multiple orders, a hint of stress creeping into her usually calm demeanor. Mark, seeing her struggle, stepped behind the counter without hesitation. "Need a hand?" he asked, rolling up his sleeves. Lisa looked at him, a mix of surprise and gratitude in her eyes. "I could use all the help I can get," she admitted. They worked side by side, moving in a seamless rhythm as they served customers. Mark took orders and cleared tables while Lisa focused on baking and preparing drinks. Every now and then, their eyes would meet, a silent understanding passing between them. "Thanks for helping out," Lisa said during a brief lull. "I don't know what I'd do without you." Mark smiled, wiping his hands on a towel. "I'm happy to help, Lisa. This place is special, and so are you." Days turned into weeks, and Mark's visits became more frequent. He and Lisa grew closer, their bond deepening with each shared experience. They talked about their hopes and dreams, their fears and regrets, finding solace in each other's company. One evening, after closing the cafe, Mark invited Lisa and Mia over for dinner. He had prepared a simple yet elegant meal, the table set with candles and flowers. Lisa felt a flutter of nerves as she sat down, sensing that this night was different. "Mama, look, there are flowers," Mia exclaimed, her eyes wide with excitement. "Yes, sweetie, they're beautiful," Lisa replied, smiling at her daughter. As they enjoyed the meal, the conversation flowed easily, laughter filling the room. After Mia had fallen asleep on the couch, Mark and Lisa moved to the balcony, the city lights twinkling in the distance. "I have something I want to tell you," Mark began, his voice steady but filled with emotion. "Since I came back and saw everything you've accomplished, I've realized how much I admire and care for you." Lisa's heart raced, but she remained silent, letting him continue. "I've fallen in love with you, Lisa," Mark said, taking her hand. "You're strong, kind, and incredibly talented. I want to be with you, to support you, and build a future together." Lisa looked into his eyes, seeing the sincerity and love reflected there. "Mark, I feel the same way," she admitted, her voice soft. "You've become such an important part of my life. I love you too." Mark's face lit up with joy, and he pulled her into a tender embrace. They stood there for a moment, wrapped in each other's arms, the world outside fading away. Months passed, and their relationship blossomed. They became a true family, supporting each other through the highs and lows of life. Mark continued to help out at the cafe, his presence a source of strength for Lisa. Mia and Mark's son were inseparable, their bond growing stronger with each passing day. One sunny afternoon, Mark took Lisa and the kids on a picnic in the park where they had first met. As they sat on the blanket, enjoying the food and each other's company, Mark turned to Lisa with a serious expression. "There's something I want to ask you," he said, reaching into his pocket. Lisa's heart skipped a beat as he pulled out a small velvet box. He opened it to reveal a beautiful, simple ring. "Lisa, will you marry me?" Mark asked, his voice filled with hope and love. "Will you make this family complete and spend the rest of your life with me?" Tears of happiness welled up in Lisa's eyes as she nodded. "Yes, Mark, I will." The kids cheered, and Mark slipped the ring onto Lisa's finger. They kissed, sealing their promise to each other, surrounded by the love and joy of their family. Hey everyone, thanks so much for sticking around till the end of our story about Lisa, Mia, and Mark. Wasn't it incredible to see how Lisa turned her life around despite the tremendous hardships she faced? Her journey is a powerful reminder that when one door closes, another one truly opens. Life threw some of the toughest challenges at Lisa. Losing her husband, facing homelessness, and the prejudices of society were enough to break anyone. But she held on, not just for herself, but for her daughter Mia. And then, by an amazing twist of fate, she met Mark, who offered her the chance she so desperately needed. From that point on, Lisa didn't just survive, she thrived. So, what do you think? How did Lisa's story resonate with you? Have you ever had a moment in your life where it felt like everything was falling apart, but then, unexpectedly, a new opportunity arose? Share your experiences in the comments below. I'd love to hear how you've overcome your own obstacles and found new paths forward. Remember, no matter how tough things get, there's always hope around the corner. Sometimes, the greatest opportunities come from the darkest moments. So keep your head up, stay strong, and believe that a new door is waiting to be opened for you. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, share it with your friends, and subscribe for more inspiring content. Let's keep this conversation going in the comments. Your story could be the inspiration someone else needs. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.